Hello class, once again. We've been looking at animations, transformations, transitions, and tooltips. We are now looking further into some of the examples that are in animations. Today we are going to attempt in creating a cup with hot coffee, and that way we shall continue to create other animations in that manner. So we have set up our page. Like by now you should be able to know how to do this. If not, you can look at our introduction to HTML here on this YouTube platform, or the preliminaries of say selectors, introduction to selectors. They would teach you a lot in terms of creating this page. You can also look for a video called setting up Visual Studio Code. It can also help you to understand how we can create this quickly. So we can start by creating say a wrapper. These are important because in most cases we are trying to make sure everything on the page can be styled properly and you have authority over it. Then we can begin with have our cup here. We are going to be doing one at a time. We can pick our wrapper here, and then we can work on it later there, but there are other things we can begin with. We can say that the margin here is 0, the padding is 0, and then box sizing for the whole page should be a border box. I am not explaining so much about this because I assume these are things that are not very new to you if you've been following our tutorials. So we can also say body, where we say display. Display can be flex, and then justify. We are just trying to center everything that is on this page. Underline, also center. We are setting that the minimum height should almost be the whole height of the page, VH, viewport height. And we are setting that the background of our page should be sea green. You can use your own color depending on what you like. We can now set the position of this to be relative, and we set the top to be 50 pixels. We can now open our page to look at what we have achieved so far, and every other thing will be very quickly be getting into order. So this is where we are. We can then, so we've shifted that the top, meaning we are pushing this downwards by 20 pixels. If you still do not understand this, check out our tutorial about positioning. We cover all these and how they mean, and the document object model and the flow of the document, how they relate to all this. So we have created a class called cup, and we are setting its position to be relative. Also saying that the width can be set to 80 pixels, the height can be 300 pixels. We can give it a background of say linear gradient. You can check out our gradient tutorials. To right, there are quite a number of ways. You could have used degrees or could have used directions, and we are saying that we are mixing two colors, one being that and another one being say, so could have those two colors, and by now this is what we have. Okay, that is what we have. We can say border dash bottom, the bottom left side, then we are setting the radius or creating a curvature. You can see it there, 45 degrees, and we can get the same thing here, the right side of it, also setting it up at 45 degrees, so we have something that looks like that. We can add just a shadow to it, maybe box dash shadow of say 0 0, top right, top bottom left to right, and then a blur there of RGBA 0, and then this is about 0.3, small shadow to the bottom, while the left and right are left like that. You can see there, you'll see it properly when we create others. We could also now come back to our work here, and inside the cup we can add another class that we call top. The top part of a cup is what we are looking at. And what are we targeting with the top? Targeting with the top, saying that the position of the top is absolute, then the part top is -30. By now you should also remember that when we say -30, we are pulling this position or whatever we are going to put on top to move upwards. If it is positive, then it would move downwards the object. Left is 0 pixels. The height of whatever we want to place on top of the other element is 60 pixels, and we want it to occupy the full width, or you could call it the full length of wherever we are placing it. So we are placing it on the cup area here because it is inside the cup here. So that's why we set this relative, and then whatever is inside here we can set it absolute, and then we position it wherever we want it to go. The background is linear, and this is setting it to the right still, and we are using generally the same thing here. I could just copy this and paste it here. Border radius is 50%. So right now you can see what we've done here. We've created this curve. You can take it out such that you can see it properly. This is how it is, flat, but we were adding something on top here, and now you can see we've created that curve. So once again we can go back. We have our top, and inside the top we have another class here we can call circle. If you confuse these, they will not come out properly. We have circle, and we are saying can pick a few things here. We are saying that copy, can paste it here. We shall change it. Circle position is absolute. We are pushing it downwards by 20 pixels. The left is 0, the width is that, the height is also occupying 100%. So the total size is occupying the total size of that top section. We can use the same, but we are changing how this color is going to go left, and we could just, for purposes of trying to maintain our status, could say box dash sizing, but we had set it. We might not need it here, but can just put it up. Border box, border radius. So when we go back, we shall have created something like that. We need to, sorry, I need to work on my positioning. Position top, I can call it 5 pixels. The left is 10 pixels. You can work on the height, because as you can see it was moving out of shape. There is something remaining here, so I can edit these to fit properly where they supposed to go. We can introduce some element here that we call calc. In future we shall create a tutorial complete about this function, because it is very important and classy to use, but it has got its limitations. For example, it is professionally used with values. If we are dealing with plus minus, we can't do something like this. There must be what we call a space separator between a plus and a minus, otherwise the HTML parsers will have conflict or errors with this function. They might not calculate, the width actually wouldn't be calculated because this is not understood, whereas rather multiplication or division does not require that kind of principle. So we shall have tutorial about that particular function. So now we have put it in the right shape. We have a cup there. We can choose to put something inside it, a liquid that we would want to show. Now we can go for our coffee. Inside this circle we want to put coffee inside here, and we come back to our coffee. We say dot coffee. Position is absolute. The top is 20, pushed inside this circle. Left is 0. There should be no space around it. The width is 100%, occupy the full width. Without the background you do not see what we are doing, so let us begin with, let us add on the background right away. Background such that you see what we are doing. We could have linear, gradient, can just mix colors without any direction. You can say A0 522D. If you didn't know colors, you can just type a color here, then convert it to this one. We saw that in our other tutorials. This is 80,000. be. So with that background, we can say that the height here is also 100%. So we have something like this now with its height, and we want to put it inside there. We then have got to say that border dash radius is 50%. We make it circular, but it is not yet inside here. But remember, this coffee is inside a circle. Okay, it's inside the circle, meaning it is slated, it is inside the circle class, so this class will control the coffee inside. If we want to make sure there is it settles in there, we have to come back to the circle class and say overflow. In all corners we don't want to pick X or Y, we say overflow hidden, and then whatever is overflowing or was outside here because of positioning is now hidden, so it can settle in properly. We could also try to add our handle. You can look at this class. Circle stops here, our top covers that. So we can come here and say dot handle, dot handle, then we come back to our CSS. Can pick the whole of this. We shall edit it in the interest of time. We can call this handle. Position is absolute. We can look at the positions. We can set our width set to be 160 pixels. We can set our height to be 180 pixels. We can set our border here to be 25 pixels solid, with say let's first set it with 0, such that you see what we are dealing with. So you'll be able to see what we are dealing with, but we want to set it on the top right. The right side should be, you can say 40 pixels, and the top side, pull it up. If we have this, we can now look at where it is. This is how it is. Okay, because of the border radius. Without the border radius, it would be some sort of rectangle. You can see how it is. So we can pull this upwards by saying, say, negative maybe 70. Negative 70. We go back. This is what we have. It is too big. The top should push it down to say 40 pixels, and then the right hand side, when I say negative 70, I am trying to put it towards the right hand side. Positive would push it further inside, as you can see here. If it was positive 70 on the right hand side, would push it this side, whereas negative pulls it this side. The same applies to this. If we said top negative, like we had said, it was moving up, and then just top as a positive value would push it downwards. So now we can say that the border, since we set the borders, we can say border dash left is also 25 pixels. We want it solid, but for it we want it transparent. Okay, so the left is gone now, as you can see. We are also saying that because we've made it transparent, where the color would sit, we've said let the color it be transparent, so it is getting inside the white color. Solid, also transparent. So sorry, or cannot be left. This is bottom. Bottom is like that. So we are remaining with such an angle, the top and the right hand side. If we apply the border radius here, we now have something that is curved, but remember we want to create a handle, so we can say border rather transform. We have seen this. If you haven't, you can check out our tutorials and transformation, 2D especially. You can say rotate, and rotation takes degrees. We can say 40 degrees. Okay, we see how it looks like. So this is how it looks like, but it would not look like a handle in that way. We can play around with these numbers. We can, for example, look at the top to say 43, to push it further downwards, to push it further to the right or to the extreme end of our cup. That looks a little bit okay. Apart from the down one, we can rotate a little bit once again to say 43 degrees. Let us change the color to white. We can say such that we see what we are dealing with properly. DC should have created a certain blend of white. Okay, we could even leave it seated there, because that one would be a cup. Now the other thing is to say would want to have a saucer or a plate under it. Can come here. Before we worked on a cup, we want this cup to sit on a plate. So you can see, you can say plate, and then we say position is absolute. The plate was seated here under the wrapper. So because we set the wrapper to be position relative, that gives us advantage to use this under position absolute, and we position it inside the whole wrapper anywhere we want. You can check out our class once again under positioning if this seems confusing. So you can say bottom, because you can take it any direction including negative values. So by saying -50, we are pushing this, because otherwise it would sit if we had given it a background. Let me come here and say background. Background linear gradient to right. We could say F6, comma DC. So now because we have not given it positions and we are saying position absolute, you are not able to see where it is seated. But when we say bottom -50, we are pushing it downwards, as positive would push it upwards. Then left, we are saying 50%. So and then we can say that can give it a width here of say 500 pixels. We set its height such that you can now be able to see what we are coming up with. Okay, it is set 50% from the left hand side, which is about here. It is also set to the bottom by -50. This is what is pushing it downwards. If we did something like this, you can see where it is. So we can also try to center it by saying transform. You have seen this maybe somewhere, transform translate, where we use, but we want it to stay on the x-axis. Otherwise we would say transform translate only without x or y, and then we put in the x and y values. But since we want it to move along the x-axis only, we can specify by saying translate x -50%. So it will move from the right hand side towards the left, because when you have your number line system, if this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis, to the right would be the positive x-axis, to the left would be the negative x-axis. So when you say -50% on the x-axis, then it will move this side to the left, because that is where negative is. We can curve it by simply saying border dash radius 50%, and that will create it like that. You can see. We can add some shadow downwards or below it. You can say 0, 30 pixels, 30 pixels. This would be left to right, this would be bottom, this is top. We don't want anything there so far. Since we've already created a shadow on the cap, you can pick this, and now we have a shadow under it. So we are almost done here. We could add other designs. We shall look at them later. Let us first focus on how we can finish. We can look at this kind of thing. We have our top steer inside here. This is top, stops there. We have a handle. We can create another class that we shall call steam. Now we are taking hot coffee, and that is why we are creating the steam. So we can have a class here, steam. Can choose to design that first about steam. We are saying that the position is also relative. When we do this, you know there is something else we are going to add to this class, and we would want it to have position absolute, and without this then we are not able to create it. Bottom is 50 pixels. Display would be flex, and the Z index 1, because all others are at 0 by default. Padding top left is 0. This is 20 pixels. So we set parameters, but we can test them later when we see this. For example, we can first keep this, and this, and then we see what will happen. Even this shall activate them later. We can say now adding what shall act as our steam span. You know why we are using span tags? Because we want them to be on the same line. Then we can add a style here, and the style is, say we can say, for example, dash dash I, and then the value that is being stored by I is say 1. So this acts as a variable in CSS. We shall cover this also when we are looking at the other function called calc, because in HTML you can declare this. You could say call this one maybe can just give it a name. You could say dash dash I is now having a value of 1. Okay, so copy, we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Can begin with this. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 8, 9, 10. Can begin with this. I will show you something where necessary. Now if we have this, you can come back here and say that the dot stem, then span, position, relative, bottom 20 pixels, let me first create a background to be say white. Okay, then we can choose to say that display this as a block. Even if it is a span, display it as a block. We can set that the minimum width is 8 pixels and their height should be say 110 pixels. So now we are able to look at something that looks like this. Okay, so now we can begin by saying that the bottom of this container is 50 pixels, and we can also say that the display flex, now we have them here. The Z index puts them on top of everything, and also padding, this creates space within individual elements left and right. Okay, shall add on the same padding down here. So margins to make sure there is space in each and everything. So top, we are okay with it, 2 pixels. Left and right, you can see it's so separate now. Bottom is 50 pixels, pushing it further upwards. That is what we are targeting. We could also say that the border radius here, border dash radius, is say 50%, creating them some curvatures. Now you can see where they are positioned in between here. So it means if you wanted it to finish the whole cup, we would have to either increase the margin, but the best way would also be to increase these numbers. Okay, you can copy this and increase them here. This is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So now we have everything that can cover a cup that will work as our stem. So we shall add something else. we could say animation because we want it to look like steam. Call it, the animation name is coffee. If you do not know by now the duration, animation duration, linear, what would be our timing function, and then a counter, animation dash iteration dash count would be infinity. We want it to loop forever. This can be easy in, out, and stuff like that, but we want it to be linear. You could add a small, can say filter. We can add a small blur. These are all designs that if you didn't want, they would be unnecessary. It would be okay. But with that blur, this is what we have now. Okay. We had talked about this in our other tutorials. We want it to look like the animation was already playing, so we apply an animation delay. We could have put it in here, but we wanted to use another function of calc, and we are saying that var, because we declared the I as a variable, it was dash dash I is the name. That is what you will see. You could give it your own name and it would still work. Then we are going to multiply whatever variable, because we said 1 2 3 4 5 up to 20, so we can say 1 multiplied by negative 0.5 seconds. And remember, when we with animation delay can take up also positive and negative values, and when you give it negative values, then you are trying to say that please appear as if you have started. To the viewer, it will appear as if this animation started before anything else. So it will get, once we play the animation or set the animation to play, it will be getting the first one, for example, multiplied by this, the second 2 times this, 3 times this, to calculate the delay of each and every line that we created. So we can now use add keyframes to help us play the animation. The animation name is the identifier, and we are saying that while at 0%, what should happen? Transform, translate at Y. We are moving on Y. Do not move, stay where you are, but scale scale X is also 1. Shall see. We could also say that at 50%, okay, transform 50% of the 6 seconds we have set. That's what it means. Translate Y negative 150 pixels, move along the Y axis, negative 150 pixels, increase now the size, scale X to 4, increasing the size of this to 4. You can see it's starting to play. Increase the size to 4 at 50. Then we are also saying that at 100, take it away. 300 pixels would make it run, let it be big as it goes away. So this is what we see now. You see, can look at the delays. This starts and then keep on keeping on, coming, and those are the delay that's the delay function at hand, that all of them are not starting at the same time. But we could also say that while you are starting, for example, while this steam is starting, that is dot steam span, the opacity should be 0, so we don't see it. We don't see it starting out. Okay, so now you don't see it here at the start, but we can bring it back that at 0%, at 15% here, inside here at the start opacity is still 0 when everything is still okay. At 15% opacity is 1, meaning see it. Okay, you can see. We are also saying that as it goes away at 95%, say towards 100% of the time, which is 6 pixels, the opacity should also be 0, that you are not seeing it towards the end, it goes away beside. That's what we are meaning, it starts to go away. But now you can see it is coming in order and almost very predictable. That is how it is. We could change that kind of thing to look like this. We can come here and maybe mix these numbers. Can create a mix up of these numbers. We can start at this, that the last one will follow the other one. This one here can come here. So we are mixing up these numbers randomly. We don't want the numbers to follow each other. That way we can easily use, we can then easily apply our delay function to look good. Whatever is following each other, we can mess it up. Okay, 18, 19 is following each other, we can mess this one up also. Can make this one like that, can put this one here, can pick this 10 and we make it rust. Can pick 13, 14, maybe to come between these, and then pick this here and put it here. So now we can see this mix up that will tend to look like a better steam than what we had. So this is what we have, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say thank you for watching. You can replay this video for you to be able to understand certain concepts. Otherwise, we'll check out our next video coming of the same animation examples. Thank you.